Hey guys, I think you're really going to like this video. I'm going to be comparing all of these socket rails. I've got a new toolbox and I've got maybe 100, 125 sockets, and I need to get them a little bit better organized. I have several of these. Hyper Tough brand is what you find at Walmart. It's actually pretty good. Only thing I don't like is they're a little short. So I started looking for some new ones. Went to several different stores and I found all of these, so I figured I'd put together a video showing how I'm comparing these to each other and let you know which one I'm going to choose to use in the new toolbox. I like to use the socket rails because I do a lot of work, on the other side of the garage, out in the driveway, and I can just grab one of these and take it with me out to wherever I'm working. These versus the ones where you just have the pins that the socket goes on and you just have to pull each socket off as you need it, and those are a little bit hard to carry around because if it tips over they'll spill out everywhere. And the other type where it's just got the flat piece with the holes in it that the sockets just sit in, again, those aren't really secure. I like having them secure on these little socket holders. And my drawer is about the size of this. If you were to squeeze these in, that's about how big my drawer is, about 24 by 18. So that's about the space I'm looking at. And alright, let's just get started. First of all, where do these come from? I've got the Hyper Tough from Walmart. Both these are Cobalt, so they came from Lowe's, and Lowe's is also switching over to Craftsman. Craftsman has the exact same setup, except Craftsman is red in this model, and this is the same, I believe, for Craftsman. These two Husky models came from Home Depot. I've got this one from Harbor Freight, as well as this. This is a 3-pack. And then Strongway that I picked up at Northern Tool. I'm sure there's other hardware stores where you could find these. And then Ernst also got from Northern Tool. But I know they have a better selection online. Alright, so let's jump into it. I'm going to take kind of an analytical approach, probably something you may not have seen in too many of these socket rail comparison videos. That I've seen a lot of these videos. A lot of them, the guys will put sockets on here and just throw it on the ground and see how many sockets come off, and that's kind of how they make their decision. So I'm going to use a little bit more scientific approach to testing these. I'm going to put a summary of everything you see today onto a PDF. It'll look like this. I know it's a little bit overboard, but like I said, it'll be something that you probably haven't seen in any of the other videos. So I'll have a link to the PDF in the summary below this video, and you're welcome to download the PDF, print it. You can use it when you go to the store to look for these socket rails and kind of help make your decision on what you might want to buy. But I do ask that you subscribe before you download the PDF. There will be links to a lot of these rails that you can buy on Amazon. As you can see, there's no advertisements in my video, so I'm not monetized, so I do make a couple of dollars from my Amazon affiliates account. So if you click on those links, buy something from Amazon, I will get a dollar or two from that. Alright, well, let's start with the comparisons. One thing, there's a number of things I'm going to be looking at and comparing on all of these. As I've already mentioned, the brand, where you buy it. I bought all of these at local stores. I didn't buy any of these online. I'm going to measure how tall the rail is with a 3-inch socket on it, because some are a little thicker than others, a little taller than others. So if you have a specific size drawer, there's a height difference here. You want to have that information. How long the rail is, what's it made out of, just a number of different criteria, as well as what colors they come in, whether you can add or remove socket holders. There's some that you can't, just a few, but some you can interchange these, so you can have different sizes on one rail. So that's kind of important to me, because I do have socket sets that have multiple sizes. For instance, let me go grab one. So I picked up this Torx bit set. It's got a 3/8 drive for some of these, and it has 1/4 inch drive. So I was able to put 2 different size socket holders on one rail. So that's another thing I'll be scoring for each of these. Some other things I'll be sure to mention: can you shorten the rail? Trying to think of what else I'm going to be looking at here. I guess if it's magnetic or not, or if you can hang it on a wall. Some of these you can, some you can't. So I'll have all of that information in this handy dandy sheet that you can download below. All right, I'm going to clear this off and we can get started. All right, as I talk about each one of these, I'll put a little sign up here so you can easily see which one I'm talking about. Plus, it keeps me from forgetting. So this is the Hyper Tough. Picked it up at Walmart, $5.94. Not a bad price. That's 59 cents per socket. So I want to include the cost per socket, because if you have a socket drawer that has 200 or 300 sockets, that can make a big difference. You'll see a range from 10 cents to $1.75 per socket. Okay, this is 12 inches long with a 3-inch socket on it, and it stands exactly 3.5 inches tall. The drawer in my toolbox is 3 3/4 inches exactly, and most of these do fit in my drawer. I believe there's 1 or 2 of the brands that I got that don't fit. But this one is 3.5 inches tall with a 3-inch socket. The rail is aluminum. It's pretty sturdy. The rails only come in black. The socket holders come in red for the 3/8 inch. I believe they're blue for the 1/4 inch, and then orange for a 1/2 inch. I do know, however, that you can swap out the insert here. So you could have, a blue insert with either the 3/8 or 1/4 inch socket holders, or you could have the red insert, or you could, if you had 2 of these, you could cut them in half, and you could put a blue insert on one half, or a red insert on the other half, just so if you had metric and SAE on one rail, you could divide it up and keep, track it by the insert color. So the rail construction is very sturdy. It's pretty common among all the ones we'll be looking at, or let's say at least half of them. I'd give this a 9. It's pretty solid. The holder construction, it seems to be pretty good. I like that this rail, and I don't know if you can tell, but this insert is kind of round, and it pushes on the center of the socket holder, so it gives a little bit of resistance, so these aren't flopping around. But it's also not very hard to slide, because it's only touching the socket holder in the very middle. So I do kind of like the way this is built. It's a little short, as I mentioned. That's why I'm getting some new socket rails. But if you do want one that's shorter, you are able to shorten this. You just pull this cap off, cut it, put the cap back on, and it should be pretty simple. It's not very label friendly, so if you wanted to label which socket was where, you could label it on the side, but when it's standing up in your toolbox, you can't really see the side of the rail. There's no magnetic base. You can, as I mentioned, add and remove socket holders. The 3/8 and 1/4 inch drive will interchange on this rail. However, the 1/2 inch drive you can't mix with the 1/4 inch and 3/8 drives. So the 1/2 inch is a little bit different shape rail and a little bit bigger socket holder. There is one other, couple of things I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to do it while I'm reviewing these, but after I'm done, I'm going to do a test on each one of these of exactly how hard it is to pull one of these sockets off. You know, I haven't seen any good tests out there on YouTube where anybody can show the actual resistance it takes to pull one off. So I'm going to attempt to do that. So after I'm done looking at all of these, I'll do that testing and I'll chop up the video and I'll put it in with each rail review. Alright, so I told you this is going to be a little different than some of the other socket rail videos you've seen. And I'm not sure if this is going to provide really good information, but it was nice to kind of get a little nerdy with it. But I want to tell you what I have here. I'm using a, well, first of all, I'm going to clamp down each socket rail right on each side of the socket holder so it holds the rail sturdy. U-joint sockets to tie a wire around to. I'll try to use a regular socket, but I couldn't get anything to work and I didn't want to drill a hole in my socket. So I've got a piece of wire here tied to this, and this will measure the resistance or how much force you have to apply to pull the socket off of the socket rail. So it measures in newtons. Right now it's kind of resting because the top of it is, there's some resistance on it. It's at about 4 newtons, which is just under a pound of force. So I'm actually going to record all these in slow motion, so I'm not going to talk anymore through this. So I just wanted to kind of explain to you what I had here. That's it. Let me get this set up in slow motion. Right, I'm not going to do the slow motion. I tried that. I was barely able to see it just on my phone. I'm sure it won't come out well on a video. I just don't have the right camera or lighting to be able to do that effectively. But just by eyeballing this, I saw that this got up to about between 8 and 9 newtons. I'm supposed to score this an 8, and 8 newtons is it's about 1.8 pounds of force. So we'll kind of use this as the measurement for all the other ones. Kind of compare it to this one, because to me the Hyper Tough Walmart brand, it does hold pretty well, but it also lets go. So if you're reaching over with one hand, let me get this off of here. If you're reaching over with one hand to pull a socket off, you can easily do it. Now if you have a whole rail of heavy sockets, you go to lift it up by one socket, it's probably going to come off. But if you have a small lighter weight sockets, you could hold the rail with your hand and pull the socket off of there. So I'll go ahead and test all the others like this and see how they all compare to this one. Alright, Lowe's didn't have a lot of variety on the socket rails. They have this big behemoth from Cobalt. You know, I kind of like this in a way just because your sockets are all kind of compact here and you don't have multiple rails you're moving around. But if you did want to pull a rail out to take it with you, to work on your car or something, you pretty much have to take your whole set of sockets that you have on here. So I don't really like that. This is 17¼ inches long, so be aware of that. Be sure to measure your tool drawer before you go buy these. With a 3-inch socket on the rail, it is actually 3 and 9/16 inches tall, so just a hair over 3.5 inches. Let's see, so this is actually a metal. It seems like just a painted steel. I would imagine if after this gets scraped up, at working out in the driveway, it would start rusting. Not 100% sure of that. I haven't tested that, but I would be kind of wary of that. The rail material, the actual socket. Let me take this cover off here. The rail itself is plastic, and then all the socket holders are plastic as well. All the Cobalt ones only come in blue, and then they have Craftsman as well, which come in red. Lowe's is in the middle of doing a makeover to their tool department as they switch over to more Craftsman and less Cobalt. I'm not sure if they're going to carry both in their store. The store that I was in only carried Cobalt, but it hasn't changed over yet, so that'll be coming in the next few months for my local store. But you can buy both online on the Lowe's website. So the rail construction being plastic, I'd probably give it maybe a 7. It seems kind of flimsy. I mean, it feels sturdy because it's riveted down in 3 places to this metal backing, but you know, if I pry it up, it's really kind of thin. The holder construction, I'd probably give a 6 or 7, just because there's really not much to it. It's just kind of clamped on. Here, let me take one of these off for you. So that's what the rail looks like. Pretty basic, the way that clips on. So you could put different sizes on different rails. They're all interchangeable. It does hold a total of 86 sockets. It doesn't have a magnetic base. It doesn't really have a way to hang it unless you want to hang it from the handle. Alright, let's get this Cobalt done. Well, that one made it up to about 20 newtons, which is about 4.5 pounds of force. So that one did quite well. Again, it's relative. It all depends on how much resistance you want to have to fight against when you want to pull a socket off of here. But we'll be able to at least compare them all to each other. Alright, let's do the other Cobalt. Alright, this little guy is 12 inches long. Believe it or not, as simple as it looks, it was $9, which seemed a little pricey. I'm sorry, it's only 10 inches long. My mistake. Holds 12 sockets. So that's about 75 cents per socket. The little base here is aluminum. It only comes in black, and also it came with a sticker on it, which is very hard to peel off. You'd have to put something on here to get this off, some type of goof off or Goo Gone or whatever. But that doesn't peel off too easily. The rail construction, it is sturdy, as simple as it is. Seems like it would hold up over a long period of time. The holders are similar to what we saw on the other rail, where they just clamp around the top edge of this rail. The label friendly, no, you couldn't really label this too well. I guess you could put something down inside this little channel here. I don't know if you can see that. Doesn't have a magnetic base. You could wall hang it. There's a slot here, and there's one on the other end as well. You could shorten it, although you wouldn't need to. It's short enough as it is. You can add or remove these. I don't know that you could really add any because it's so short. you wouldn't have room to add any, but you could pull these off and put a different put a 1/4 inch on, for instance. Let's see, durability. I'd give it about a 7 on durability, because I can feel this one, like this socket rail is already loose, where some of these others feel a little more snug. And I did notice in the store there were one of these that were broken off and laying in the box, so I'd be wary of buying this one. Alright, let's see what the resistance is on this one. It's 5, 10, 15, almost to 20, right at 20. Same as the other Cobalt. Alright, next we have the Husky. Go pull this out. So you can see this is pretty bare bones, just a plastic rail with the plastic holders. It's 12 and 1/16 inches long, and it comes with 10 socket holders on it. Now these only come in red, so if you wanted different colors, you'd be out of luck with this Husky model. The rail construction, I'd probably give it maybe a 7. The holder construction, probably a 7 as well. Just like some of the others, it's just kind of it's almost just like the Cobalt ones. Just the basic little wrap around the rail there, so I could see over time as this wears or this wears, this would get really loose. I don't know that for a fact, but that's just what it appears to be, just by the way it's made. Yeah, no magnetic base. You can hang it on the wall. Just have a hole on each end there, so you can mount both ends or just hang it. You would not be able to shorten this because it's got the stop on one end and then the clip on the other end to keep these from sliding off. And these are interchangeable. I believe you can put 1/4 inch on this 3/8 rail. I'm not sure about the 1/2 inch though. Alright, let's see how much resistance we have to put on the Husky. There's 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 20. Yep, 20. We're moving on to the other Husky. This one is 12 inches long, comes with 20 socket holders. Again, all the numbers that I'm giving you are for the 3/8 inch drive socket rail. So keep that in mind, that you want to make sure you look at that when you're out buying these, because they don't all come with the same number of socket holders. The 1/4 inch may have more and the 1/2 inch may have less. This was $25, one of the most expensive ones that I've seen per socket. $1.25. So if you have 100 sockets, that's $125 you'd have to spend. This base is, however, very sturdy aluminum, similar to the Hyper Tough brand I saw at Walmart. The only difference is where these socket holders go in here. You can see this one's pretty loose. This doesn't have the raised insert in here that puts pressure against the bottom of the socket. Is literally just this plastic piece between two edges of the rail. So this one's loose. This one is actually pretty tight. It's hard to move. So right there, that would earn this one a bad score, because I can see all these getting kind of loose and moving around on you. So all three sizes come with the black rail. They have different color socket holders. 3/8 inch is yellow, obviously. The 1/4 inch is orange, and the 1/2 inch is blue. So that's a little different. I don't know why they would make them those colors, but I guess that's just what they chose. Label friendly. You could put some type of label here in the middle. If you want to label if this was a standard or metric set, that kind of thing, you'll be able to label individual sockets on here. Ability to shorten. This one, you actually can shorten this. If you pull these 2 screws off, there's little metal tabs inside here that'll come off as well. You could cut this and put it all back together just like it was. And this is a magnetic base, so that could come in handy. The only problem is it makes it a lot taller. This is one of the tallest socket rails we have. With a 3-inch socket, this is 3 13/16, so just a little bit over 3 3/4 inches. So definitely want to keep that in mind. These are interchangeable between the 3/8 and 1/4 inch drive, but not the 1/2 inch. And it seems to be fairly durable, other than these being loose. Alright, let's check the resistance on this one. Okay, there's 10. Oh, I missed that one. Let me look at it again. It was just maybe 11 or 12. There's 10, 11. It was 11. Alright, this is the Pittsburgh, one of them. This is an old style. It's been around forever. There's not much I can say about it. This thing is 99 cents. That's 7 cents per socket. These do have a lot of issues though. These metal socket holders, the way they wrap around the rail, they can either be really tight or really loose. And as you put sockets on, it's really just the tension that this puts on the socket that holds it on there. So over time, as you put sockets on and it pushes, you can see right there, it changes the shape of this socket holder. So over time, taking sockets on and off, this is either going to get really tight or really loose, and sometimes it'll keep you from being able to even put a socket on, and sometimes it'll hold the socket on so tight it's hard to get it off. So I'd be pretty wary of this, although it is really cheap. If you have sockets that you don't use very often, you just want to keep them straight. I suppose you could use something like this. It only comes in chrome. This is it's not stainless steel, so this is going to rust once you scratch this up out on the driveway or whatever. So keep that in mind. Yeah, definitely not label friendly. No magnetic base. It is wall mountable. It's got 3 holes here, here, and here. So that's it for this one. Let's move on. I don't know if, well, you see the length there, 16 1/8 inches. So keep that in mind. It may be a little long for your tool drawer. So this is at 5, 7.5, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's about 17. which is not very surprising, as you take sockets on and off of different socket holders. Some come off very easily and some don't come off easily at all. And I couldn't tighten these down against the rail, because if it bends the rail, it would change the shape of the socket holder and then impact the resistance there. So that's fine though. We'll give that one a 17. Now I've got this other set from Pittsburgh, which is pretty cheap, but it's a pretty impressive little set. So this was only $4. It came with 3 socket rails. That's 9 cents per socket. The second cheapest, only to the other Harbor Freight rail, Pittsburgh. So this comes with one box. You've got all 3 sizes. There's more 1/4 inch, fewer 3/8, and fewer 1/2 inch. Alright, so this is 13 7/8 inches long. You are not able to shorten this with a 3-inch socket. This is 3 5/16 inches high. It is pretty lightweight plastic. I mean, I'm barely putting any pressure on here, and you can see it bends pretty easily. The other thing you'll notice is these socket holders just slide from one end to the other. It's like a kid's toy, or an abacus. I don't know why they would make it so loose like that. To me, that would be annoying with my sockets sliding all around. If you put a socket on here, you can see that doesn't change how well it holds in place. Although it does hold the socket pretty well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. These are interchangeable. You can put the different sizes on different rails. All the rails are exactly the same. Yeah, durability, I'd probably give it maybe a 3. I could see if it was really cold out and you drop this plastic, seems like it would crack, just because it seems pretty flimsy, lightweight. Alright, let's check the resistance on this one. About 15, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, all the way up to 30. Wow, 30. That's odd. Didn't feel that like it would require that much when I put it on there, and when I've taken sockets on and off of it. Actually, yeah, it holds on there pretty good. Alright, so that's 30 newtons. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to look up and see how many pounds that is. It's just under 7 pounds, 6.7. Okay, here is the strong way. This is 15 1/16 inches long, which is actually pretty good for my socket drawer, because my socket drawer is about 18 inches. That would give me just a little room. I could throw something up at the very back of the drawer. But I like the length of this, similar to the one from Walmart, the Hyper Tough. It's got a raised area in here that presses against the bottom of the socket holder, and that holds it kind of snug. So I do like that. So you are able to slide these fairly easily, but they're not going to get, I don't foresee them getting loose on you. So it comes with 16 socket holders and a 3/8" drive, which is $1.12 per socket. So it is kind of pricey at 18 bucks, but it is magnetic. So you've got a magnet on each end here, but it is not wall mountable. Let's see what else. It is pretty durable, like some of the others. The pretty solid black aluminum. You cannot shorten this, however, so you'd have to stick with it being this length. The way they've got the magnet installed in here, you would not be able to shorten it. So for a durability, I'd probably give it a 9. Seems pretty stable. You are able to switch out between 1/4" and 3/8" drive. 1/2" is a different size, so you can't put a 1/2" drive socket holder on here. Also colors. All of these have black rails and black inserts. Socket holders are red for the 3/8" drive, blue for 1/4", and green for 1/2". So it doesn't really do much for you for keeping things organized by color. Right, let's measure the resistance with the strong way. I'm guessing this one's going to be similar to the Walmart socket rail, just because it's a very similar, I think it may even be the same manufacturer. So we'll see how much we get here. Oh, yep, almost exactly the same. I believe it was about 8. I'm going to do it one more time. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was right around 10. Alright, now I've got the Ernst. Let's open this up. So you can see, this thing is huge. It's one of the longest ones we have, 19 5/8". They do, I believe, refer to this as an 18" rail on the Ernst website, but just be aware that this tray that holds these socket rails is 19 5/8". This is $22 at Northern Tool. It's about 73 cents per socket, so it's not too bad. And it comes with 30 socket holders. Now this tray is plastic, so it is a little flexible, and the rails are plastic. At Northern, I believe all they had was red, but if you go to the Ernst website, they do have different colors. They have red and blue, and this neon green color they call high vis or high visibility. So I do kind of like that. So if you want to keep your standard and metric separated by color, you could have all your standard on red and all your blue on metric, or all your metric on blue rather. So I do like the color options here, and you wouldn't necessarily have to keep these in this black tray. If you just push this little button, this rail will slide forward, and you could just keep these in your toolbox like this. So this is plastic. It's fairly flexible, but it's not lightweight like the Pittsburgh one. It seems like it's pretty sturdy. One other thing, it's a similar type socket holder that we've seen on other rails, except for the rail itself has little ridges on here, and then the socket rail has a little ridge on there, so you actually click it to move it to where you want it, and then it's not going to slide on its own. So I don't know if that would wear out over time. Like some of these in the middle seem harder to move than the one on the end, but I do kind of like that. Now, one other thing that's really unique here, and I won't be doing the test on this one to see how hard it is to take the socket off, is because they have a unique design for the rail holder. I don't know if it's focusing on this or not, but they do have a unique design on here where they don't have the little stainless ball bearing. There's something internal where it pushes on one side, comes out, and then this holds on to the other side. Let me just show you. Let me get a socket real quick. So you can see that's kind of rounded there. So when you put a socket on, you kind of have to turn it and you lock it on. See how I'd have to take it off? Just put it straight on. It almost just falls right on. And you turn it and it locks, and then you really can't pull it off. I'm sure I could force it if I pulled it hard enough, but it's got a special locking feature there. So, you know, I've seen some reviews where people really like that, and I guess if you carry these rails around a lot and you're throwing them in a tool bag and that kind of thing, that might come in handy. But for me, if I'm working on something and I want to reach out and pull one of these off with one hand and it's full of sockets and I'm having to turn it and pull it off, it may not be that easy. Especially, you know, when you put it on, if you don't turn it and you see it there, you don't know if it's locked on or not. So you'd really have to go back and double check all of your sockets to make sure they're locked on before you throw them back in your tool bag. So although it is kind of a really neat feature, I'm not convinced that that's something that I would want. Let's see. So let's see. We already talked about this being plastic. It's not really. It's not magnetic, but it is wall mountable. You can hang this on the wall. You know, this is plastic. You could screw this to a wall if you wanted. But it is what I would call OCD friendly, because it actually comes with these little labels, and you can see this holder is pretty wide. So when you have a socket on there, if it was a small socket, you could actually have the label on the top. The larger sockets like this, there's a flat space here, and these labels are sized so they'll fit right on the side of this. So you can look at the side of your rail and see all your size sockets there. So that is kind of neat. I do like the fact that they provide these labels for metric and standard. And torques and other stuff, as you can see. That's it. You know, durability, I'd probably give this an 8. Interchangeable, these are all interchangeable on one rail, so the 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch you can put on the same rail as a 3/8 inch, which may come in handy because it is a very long rail, so you could actually have 2 different size and different sets of sockets on one rail, for some of the smaller sets you might have. Ability to shorten, I would give it a 5. I mean, I suppose you could shorten it, but it does have a stop on the end, so you wouldn't want to really shorten this. If you wanted to take the tabs off of this tray, you could take these tabs off if this is a little bit too long for your drawer. Probably get it down to about 19 inches. Now I know I don't really need to test this because these sockets lock on, so I'll just take it up to 30, which is our maximum so far, just to make sure it stays on there. Let's see, 15, 20, 25, 30. Yeah, there's 30. It's not going anywhere. that's it for those tests. Alright, I think I said in another part of the video that I was going to do another test to see how well these would stand up, or how easily they would fall over if they had sockets on them. They're all pretty much the same. As long as they're flat on the bottom, I mean, they're going to be decent. If you get one, like this, is round on the bottom, well, this just falls right over with no problem. All of these are really about the same. They're all flat on the bottom, all about the same width. If you really don't want anything to fall over, you can get one of these wide base ones. And that's definitely not going anywhere. And there was the Ernst, which was magnetic. It's got magnets on the bottom there, so that would stick to your drawer in your toolbox, so it wouldn't fall over that easily. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Alright, and as I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, please subscribe and feel free to download this sheet here, the summary. I'll put the force that it took to pull all of these sockets off so you can compare that as well, but it's got all the information on all of these different brands of socket rails. Also in the comments, let me know if you think this was too far overboard, or if you want to see more videos like this. And also give me some ideas too. I guess I can go ahead and tell you my favorites out of the bunch. I believe the one that I'm going to go with for a lot of my sockets, even though this one that's a little more expensive than others, is the Strongway, mainly because of the length. Because I'm putting the sockets from the front to the back in my drawer, not sideways from front to back. So the length is good. That'll take up most of my drawer, and I won't have this wasted space across the back. And then I can get also a full set of sockets, where some of the other ones, like the one that I'm currently using, I have the Hyper Tough for a lot of my sockets. This will only hold up to 10, maybe 11, possibly 12 if they're small sockets on here. But if you have a set that has like 15 sockets, then you've got 2 rails. So that's why I want to go with the Strongway. And that's it. That's my pick. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, please subscribe, and talk to you soon.